Then you don't know, right? Okay, everybody can hear okay? Good, okay. Thank you for turning out tonight. It's a good turnout. It's good to see everybody here. It's got a lot of interest in what's happening and what may be happening in our community. There's a lot of talk. Nationally, we are the talk of the country. The Bakken is becoming a common word. Nobody knew what it was a couple years ago, but everybody from coast to coast knows what the Bakken is. Even in outer space, you can see, those of you who've been on the internet, you see the Bakken field and how it's lit up. And we have three panelists here who are going to talk to us about their experiences of what have happened. We have two of them that are in the heart of oil country. Brett Smelser is the mayor of Sidney. He's also on the Montana Oil and Gas Board, and so he knows the ins and outs of what's happening in Montana. Brent Bogar is on the city council in Williston, and so he will give us his perspective on what has happened in Williston, and we know that's been a real busy area also. And then Stoney Anketel, who is the chairman of the Fort Peck Tribe's Oil and Gas Committee, has a presentation on everything he knows too about the oil and gas as it relates to the reservation and the tribal oil properties. Just maybe one housekeeping note is that when we're all done here, we invite everybody to just, we'll open up that door there, and we have some food available, so when everything's over, we can go in, you can grab some food, and you're welcome to either come back in here, eat it, go downstairs, do whatever you'd like once the meeting concludes. We will have a question and answer time following all three presentations. We'll let all of the speakers give their presentations, and we'll open up the floor to some questions and answers. So with that, I'll call on Brett. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Brett Smelser. This is my 21st year in local government. I've served 10 years as a council person. I'm in my 11th tour. I'm 11th year as mayor. I have 6 years on the Oil and Gas Commission, and I served as League of Cities and Towns president in 07. Saying all that, $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee down there anyway. Since Dwight's here, I thought maybe we'd lighten this up, and I'll give one of the Vanetta jokes, because Dwight's, he's notorious for that. Dwight, raise your hand. Did you know that Ole and Lena were having marital problems? And Lena finally got Ole to go to a counselor. And the counselor talked to Ole by himself. He talked to Lena. He finally brought them together, and he said, look, Ole, this is 99% your problem. He says, you're fat, you're overweight, you drink too much. He says, I want you for the next 30 days to walk 1 mile a day. And I'm going to call you in 30 days, and I'm going to see how the marriage and the relationship is going. 30 days later, the counselor picks up the cell phone, calls Ole. He says, Ole, he says, how's Lena? How's the marriage? He said, how the heck should I know? I'm 30 miles from home. You guys want to hear about impacts? And you want to know what's coming? Up here is a map, and I know you can't see it. And I didn't bring a PowerPoint, but we can kind of pass this around. Basically, you have the North Dakota border, which is an oil and gas commissioner. I voted for 5 foot from the state line. But here is Elm Coulee. Here is Eastern Roosevelt. This is the blue ones. The light blue ones are what's been permitted. The red ones just got permitted last week. And the blue ones are already in production. It is coming your way. It is coming your way. Thank you, Rick. And so how do you react to it? Well, obviously the first Bakken well was drilled in Richland County in 2000. That lateral was 400 yards long. They drilled about 800 wells in Elm Coulee, and then and that was about 12% porosity rock out of the shale. They moved over to partial, and then they drilled over there, that was about 12% porosity. In the meantime, technology picked up. Hydraulic fracking began a multi-stage system, and now we're making better wells out of 6 to 8% porosity rock than we were in Elm Coulee at 12% porosity, because Elm Coulee only got fracked one time. Your wells out in eastern Roosevelt will produce more out of less oil in the rock. So where do you go from here? The city of Sydney had to put we didn't have to, we put a moratorium on annexation for 60 days. So we could figure out some impact fees. Because if I can't get my fellow county commissioners to help me, first of all, you have to know 3 things about me. I am guilty of seditious talk. I have called my county commissioners cowboy hats, which I have apologized at Mako for, and I'm the biggest redneck in Richland County. The seditious talk comes from wanting to be annexed into North Dakota, because I see our state is just coming over here, taking the revenue, taking it back west and spending it. In 2007, in Richland County, the revenue out of Richland County that went into the state coffers, and in Richland County I think it's 51.8 the state takes. I think in Roosevelt it's more like 46, or what is it? 52.2. That amount of money in 2007 was worth $79,000 per person in the state of Montana. Now my argument is the state takes too much. I have always supported the county's take. I've always supported the school's take. But my argument is the state takes too much. The cities and towns were written out of the oil and gas revenue stream in the early 80s. I think we traded it for poker money. It was before Brett's time. That was a bad poker move. We went back in 2005 and got a little temporary bill, House Bill 758, that we shared with the county, and we basically get 1/10 of 1%. So the first rule is the cities and the counties have to work together, because I believe in the next session, Wolf Point, Poplar, Culbertson, all of you in oil and gas producing counties will receive a revenue stream. And it probably has to do more with the attention that was paid at the tragedy that we suffered in Sydney more than anything else. And unfortunately, that was a wake-up call, and now everybody has realized that, well, maybe we do need to take a look at this. So we have been on our own, basically. That 1/10 of 1% is about $600,000 for the city of Sydney. We put all of that in a 15-inch collector line this year that runs north of Sydney, east and west, that picks up 2 subdivisions and 1 hotel. That's all the money we have. So if I can't get my fellow county commissioners to the table to talk seriously, then I've got about a $51 million shortfall in the next 2 to 5 years if we double in population. So we're all pro-industry. I have supported the industry, but at the same time, I think there are certain things that we need to talk about. And one, obviously, is the way that the revenue is distributed. The cities and towns need help. They really do. We went and decided that we needed to insert in Sydney's playbook impact fees. But guess what? I start that process today. I follow the legal channels. I do all the bookwork, form the committees. That committee's got to have a CPA. We've got to have meetings. It's going to take 6 months for me to initiate those impact fees. We're a little late to initiate impact fees in Sydney, but you guys are not too late to look at some form of impact fee. And you know, Bozeman, Kalispell have all initiated impact fees in the growth. I don't think our impact fees have to be as outrageous as what the West is, but I think that's one tool in your chest. The other tool is decide where you want the growth to happen and push developers towards that. We all know which way the sewer flows, right? Without a man lift, we all know that we can pump water, but push the growth where you want the growth. I think Williston, you know, looking back, Williston's a fine city, but 1,000 people have left Williston, North Dakota, and I'm probably stepping on Brent's toes. We don't want that to happen out here. And I know that Williston has done its best, and the difference between Williston, North Dakota and Sidney, Montana is my friend Ward Kozer can call up Governor Dalrymple and he can get immediate attention. I call up our governor and we have a talking session. I'm past talking. We need a revenue stream. So I'm not known for long talks. I'll save the rest of this for the other panel, and I'd be open to questions. One that was asked of me was, what's the difference, and I'll answer that right up front. What's the difference between Montana and North Dakota as far as royalties? The long end of it is that North Dakota has about a 6% extraction tax and or a 5% extraction tax and 6.5% production tax. That's on the old wells. On the new wells, they have the extraction tax and they have a 2% production tax on horizontals. North Dakota's puffed its chest and said that we have a 24-month moratorium on horizontals. We beat Montana at 18 months. Guess what? North Dakota was smart enough to figure out to put a trigger on that production tax. We don't have a trigger on the production tax. So when Harold Ham brings his crew over here and they drill wells for Continental, he's got 18 months before he has to pay revenue. Right, wrong, indifferent, that may be one way that we can gain a revenue stream. And I'm not for increasing taxes, but I think that that needs to be looked at and it needs to have some serious consideration. The other things that we have done in the past, in 07, we joined with the counties and we got the federal mineral royalties bill passed. It went through Republican House and Democratic Senate, and it was vetoed by Governor Schweitzer because oil went to 30 bucks a barrel. That would have taken the other 25% of the production tax that's supposed to go to the counties, put it in a kitty. It would have been worth about $10 million a year, structured like the coal severance tax. It would have been open to counties, tribes, schools, and towns. If we had that bill today in our chest, in our tool chest, I wouldn't be begging the county commissioners for money. So, thank you so much. I appreciate the fact that you invited us here. God's blessings, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Get your thinking caps on. Come up with some questions for Brett. He'll be glad to answer them after the other two presenters are through with their presentation. Now we'll call on Brent Boulder. Brent is a native here, grew up in Wolf Point, graduated from high school here, and glad to have him back here to tell us about what's going on in Williston.
Thank you. Well, thank Brett for his information. He's, I will say a couple things just off of his points is, one, as communities, the biggest thing that you can do is to work together with, whether it's the school board, the city commission, the county commission, whatever it is, these entities, we have to work together to be able to go down to the state and to the federal and say how this is going to get fixed. Because if we're fighting among ourselves, we're not going to make any progress. We are Western North Dakota is just like Eastern Montana. All of the money goes to the eastern side of North Dakota. That's where Fargo and Grand Forks is, just like Montana, just the opposite from geographic, but it's the same basic principles. And so we don't have the population base, and so if we're not on the same page when we go to the state legislators, to the governor, to the industry, it makes it very tough to try to make any progress. So I'm just going to share a little bit about where Williston is at, the things that we've seen happen, the things that we're not necessarily happy about, the things that we're doing trying to make it better when we're dealing with the growth. Williston got hit hard and fast. Our mayor likes to say, when it comes to jobs and housing, if the oil industry can say, we're going to hire 1,000 people, and they do it tomorrow, and they bring them in that day. If I've got a manufacturing company that's going to come into Williston, they're going to say, we're going to create 1,000 jobs. Well, it's going to take them 2 years to build that plant. You've got time to plan. You've got time to figure out where are we going to build the houses. The houses can be built before the people all get there. We haven't had that option. As you know, in Williams County, roughly, if you're familiar, we have what they call man camps. Some people like to call it workforce housing. It doesn't sound quite as draconian. It's the same.